Let's get started. Number 10, cooking. Everyone can cook, right? You throw some stuff in a pan, add heat, and eventually food comes out. Except cooking is one of the most deceptively complex skills humans have ever developed. 28% of Americans admit they can't cook at all. And the ones who say they can are mostly just following recipes, which is like saying you can fly a plane because you've sat in a cockpit. Real cooking mastery means understanding why food behaves the way it does. Why does meat brown at high heat? It's called the Maillard reaction, a chemical process where proteins and sugars create hundreds of new flavor compounds. Professional chefs spend years just learning knife skills. The difference between a rough chop and a precise brunoise isn't just looks. It changes how the food cooks, how it tastes, and how it sits on the plate. The highest culinary credential in the world is the certified master chef. Fewer than 100 people on the entire planet have earned it. It requires a minimum of 10 years of professional experience, followed by an 8-day examination where judges scrutinize everything you do. You've been cooking since you were a teenager. You're still probably burning garlic. Number 9, saying no. It's one syllable, 2 letters, the simplest word in any language, and most people physically cannot say it. Psychologists study this under a concept called sociotropy, which is the tendency to place so much value on relationships that you'll sacrifice yourself to maintain them. Research links this trait directly to higher rates of depression and anxiety. People pleasers don't just want to be nice, they're often terrified. Their brain treats the word no like a social grenade that'll destroy every relationship they've built. This usually starts in childhood. If being quiet, agreeable, and invisible was the safest way to survive your household, your brain learned that saying yes equals safety. And that programming doesn't just go away when you grow up. A 2021 study asked people to name their friends' best and worst traits. Being agreeable was usually seen as positive, but being a people pleaser was listed as a negative trait. The very thing you're doing to make people like you is the thing that makes them respect you less. 2 letters, 1 syllable, a lifetime to learn. Number 8, small talk. Nobody respects small talk. It feels pointless, shallow, and slightly painful. But researchers at Columbia University discovered something wild. During casual conversations, your brain enters a state called neural coupling, where your brainwaves literally synchronize with the other person's. Your breathing patterns start matching. Your gestures mirror each other. Your neurons are firing in harmony with a stranger you're discussing the weather with. Small talk is the gateway to every meaningful relationship you'll ever have. No one goes from strangers to best friends overnight. There's always a phase of awkward surface-level conversation that builds familiarity and trust. Psychologist Ellen Hendrickson found that people with social anxiety don't actually lack social skills. They underestimate the ones they already have. Their brain is so busy monitoring themselves for mistakes that they can't focus on the other person. This tiny, meaningless conversation you're dreading is actually your brain performing one of its most complex operations: processing language in real time, reading facial expressions, monitoring tone, matching energy, finding common ground, and doing it all while pretending you care about someone's weekend plans. Number 7, patience. Patience looks like doing nothing. That's what makes it so deceptive. In reality, patience is your brain actively fighting against itself. Your prefrontal cortex, the rational planning part, is wrestling your limbic system, the part that wants everything right now. And the limbic system has a significant head start because it evolved millions of years before the prefrontal cortex even existed. Researchers at Stanford ran the famous marshmallow experiment in the late 1960s. They gave kids 1 marshmallow and told them if they waited 15 minutes without eating it, they'd get 2. Some kids ate it before the researcher even left the room. The ones who waited used specific strategies. They covered their eyes, sang songs, or turned away from the marshmallow entirely. They weren't just sitting there. They were actively managing their own impulses. Follow-up studies tracked those kids for decades and found that the ones who waited had better grades, lower rates of substance abuse, and even lower body mass indexes as adults. Patience isn't passive. It's one of the most mentally exhausting things you can do. You're essentially running a constant internal negotiation between what you want now and what you want most. Number 6, handwriting. You learn to write at age 5. By age 30, your handwriting still looks like a doctor having a seizure. Handwriting seems basic. You just move a pen across paper, but it actually requires the coordination of over 30 joints and muscles in your hand, wrist, and arm, all working in precise synchrony. Your brain is simultaneously planning what to write, controlling fine motor movements, maintaining consistent letter spacing, and keeping everything on a straight line. Studies show that most people's handwriting doesn't fully stabilize until their late teens, and even then it keeps changing throughout life. Calligraphers spend decades perfecting their craft, and the best ones in history were revered like artists. Master penmen, people who could write in flawless ornamental script, were once among the most respected professionals in America. The job literally went extinct because most people couldn't come close to that level of skill. You've been writing for most of your life. Go write the alphabet right now in cursive and tell me it doesn't look like a ransom note. Number 5, being alone. Not lonely, just alone. No phone, no music, no distractions. Just you, sitting with your own thoughts. For most people, this is genuinely terrifying. Researchers at the University of Virginia ran a study where they put people in an empty room for 15 minutes with nothing to do. The only option besides sitting quietly was pressing a button that would give them a painful electric shock. 67% of men and 25% of women chose to shock themselves rather than sit alone with their thoughts. Some people shocked themselves multiple times. One guy shocked himself 190 times in 15 minutes. Being alone forces you to confront whatever your brain has been avoiding. Unresolved emotions, uncomfortable truths, things you don't want to think about. Constant connectivity gives us the perfect escape from all of it. Solitude is actually a skill that can be developed, and research shows it's one of the most valuable ones. People who are comfortable being alone show higher levels of creativity, emotional resilience, and self-awareness. But getting there requires practice, and most people would rather electrocute themselves. Number 4, forgiving someone. Everyone says forgiveness is simple. Just let it go. Move on. Be the bigger person. Except your brain is literally designed to hold grudges. Evolutionary psychologists believe humans developed the capacity to remember betrayals as a survival mechanism. If someone in your tribe stole your food or lied to you, remembering that kept you alive. The problem is, that system doesn't have an off switch. Your brain stores emotional injuries the same way it stores physical threats. When you think about someone who wronged you, your body releases cortisol and adrenaline as if the threat is happening right now. You're not just remembering the betrayal, you're reliving it. Researchers found that people who successfully forgive show measurable drops in blood pressure, cortisol levels, and heart rate. But getting to that point often takes months or years of deliberate psychological work. Forgiveness isn't a moment. It's a process that requires you to override millions of years of survival programming. Your brain wants justice. Forgiveness asks it to accept that justice isn't coming and move on anyway. No wonder most people never get there. Number 3, making decisions. You'd think picking between options would be easy, but the average adult makes roughly 35,000 decisions per day, and the weight of that is crushing. Psychologists call it decision fatigue. Every choice you make drains a limited mental resource, and by the end of the day, your brain is running on fumes. This is why Steve Jobs wore the same outfit every day. Barack Obama only wore gray or blue suits during his presidency. They weren't making fashion statements. They were eliminating decisions to save brain power for the ones that actually mattered. Research from Columbia University found that judges granted parole at a rate of 65% after a meal break, but nearly 0% right before one. The prisoners' fates weren't determined by their cases. They were determined by how mentally exhausted the judge was. The real trap is that the stakes of any individual decision are usually low, but the cumulative effect is enormous. You agonize over what to eat for lunch while your brain quietly runs out of energy for the career decision you need to make at 3 in the afternoon. Number 2, consistency. Anyone can go to the gym once. Anyone can write 1 page. Anyone can eat 1 healthy meal. Doing it again tomorrow and the day after that for months with no visible results, while your brain screams at you to quit. That's the skill. Researchers studying habit formation found that the average time to build a new habit isn't the 21 days you've always heard, A study from University College London put the real number at 66 days on average, and for some people, it took over 250 days. The 21-day myth that came from a plastic surgeon in the 1960s who noticed patients took about 3 weeks to get used to their new face. That observation somehow became universal life advice. Consistency is brutal because it offers almost no dopamine reward. Your brain is wired to respond to novelty and quick results. Doing the same productive thing every day without seeing immediate payoff is the neurological equivalent of pushing a boulder uphill. Most people quit not because they failed, but because their brain convinced them that slow progress is the same as no progress. Number 1, knowing what you actually want. This sounds absurd. Of course you know what you want. But do you? Studies show that most people are shockingly bad at predicting what will make them happy. Psychologist Daniel Gilbert spent years researching this and found that humans consistently overestimate how happy future achievements will make them and underestimate how quickly they'll adapt to new circumstances. You think getting the promotion will change everything. Then you get it. And within a few months, you feel exactly the same. This is called hedonic adaptation. And it's one of the cruelest features of the human brain. The goalpost moves every single time you reach it. Most people don't actually pursue what they want. They pursue what they think they should want, based on what society, their parents, or social media has told them to value. Researchers found that people who define success on their own terms, regardless of external expectations, reported significantly higher life satisfaction than those who achieved conventional markers of success like wealth, status, or fame. Knowing what you want requires brutally honest self-reflection, which circles right back to number 5 on this list. You have to sit alone with your thoughts, long enough to separate your genuine desires from the ones that were installed in you by other people. It's the skill that determines the direction of your entire life, and most people never master it. That's all for today. If you learned something, hit the subscribe button. I'll be making more videos like this, and you don't want to miss them.